Hello everyone, welcome to a new lecture. We will talk in this lecture about understanding the PBR materials. This is a new chapter, guys. It's one of the most important chapters in Unreal Engine, materials chapter. If I can do materials in Unreal Engine, I can change the style of my scene to any style I want, either stylized, realistic, or anything that has its unique style. Because material is like a very basic fundamental of Unreal Engine or any render engine. So what do we need to know about materials before jumping into materials? I've prepared a presentation so I can explain it to you guys. So guys, Unreal Engine deals with PBR materials, physical based materials. We will talk about how to import textures and how to do the material editor and importing material, everything. So we want to talk theory now. What is PBR? Better approximates the physical interaction between lights and materials. So it's not only about materials and textures, it's about also light, guys. So it's very important for us to understand this new concept that it's not only about textures. More intuitive and it's much easier, physically accurate, and there is but like actual physics in it. It uses real physical measurements. It uses like the lumens and the lux and like actual measurement systems and law of conservation energy and all of that. PBR is a combination of materials, lighting, and exposure. Three things together makes PBR material. Great. So primary PBR inputs. Any PBR materials, guys, I have to have base color, either texture or color. I need metallicness, how metallic is the object. I need specularity, how specular, how high is it. And roughness, I need to know how much our material is polished or not. The base color is called albedo, guys, in CG world. Flat color without specularity, no metallic, no roughness or no specular. Here are some common color intensities, values that I can use to have certain colors. We need to know something that there is nothing called black or white 100% in the real world or even in the CG world, because if I do something that is like purely white or purely black, I'm gonna notice that it's not realistic at all, and it shows an odd view, even the black. So let's do metallic. Metallic is 100% specular reflective and reflection material. Most correct usage is to be on or off. 1 is on and 0 is off. Grayscale, so if I want to get a texture for the metallic, it needs to be in grayscale. I can't get it in colors, right? So this is very important to understand. It needs to be an image like this to be able to control the metalness. No color at all. Just in case I don't want to put a value, I want to put an image. Base color is used to diffuse shading, 0. So 0 diffuses shading a lot. 1 base color is used for specular reflection color. So as we see in the, in the meter. So that's for metallic. Roughness is basically the same, guys. 0 is 100% polished. 1 is 100% matte surface. It absorbs reflection and light. So for adjusting specularity textures, conservation of energy, most notable here, grayscale, not a color value. Again, it's the same. If I want to put a texture, it must be grayscale. We can't put colored texture. So the more white it is, the more polished. The more dark it is, the less polished it is. Specular, all surface in nature as well as Unreal have specular highlights and reflections. So specular is very important for highlights and reflections. Almost always, guys, it's okay to leave the diffuse value to 0.5. So default value is 0.5. Let's not put it 0 as a default. Let's do 0.5. Grayscale, not a color value, same as the previous metallic and roughness. It needs to be a black and white map, not through a value. I can do a value, but just in case I want to do different. Use roughness to tweak specular texturing instead. So basically, specular and roughness is very connected. What are the supported formats? Uncompressed, BMP, TGA, and PSD. So basically, if I have a Photoshop file, I can just drag it and drop it to our content browser in Unreal, and it reads it, and no problem in that. And I have the compressed formats, PNG, JPG, DDS, and HDR. So these are the supported formats for Unreal. And TGA is basically an image that is saved all the layers and all the properties and the quality. So for example, JPG, if I keep on bringing it back and forth between softwares, it could get pixelated and lose some data. TGA will never lose any data and will remain consistent with the resolution, but not all softwares support it. All right, so what are the rules of the materials, guys? This is very important part. We need to pay attention here and come back to this lecture and understand it. Texture size maximum must be 8K. So we don't need more than 4K in ArcViz, guys. So in games, we're even doing full HD. Power of 2. So we can use 2K to 4K in ArcViz. Either small scene or big scene, it depends. The smaller the scene, the higher the resolution I can go. The bigger the scene, the lower resolution we must do. So for example, if I'm doing a studio design for a couch, I can give it 4K or 8K. But if I'm doing like a forest or a big building, so I can go full HD or 2K. Power of 2, this is very important for optimization, guys, and very important for resolution. So for example, 512, 124. So for example, what does that mean? 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 124, 512, 124. And ongoing. So basically it must be in these values, because otherwise we're gonna have some problem in our scene, like some sort of waviness effect. It's called Morius effect. We get it into our material and the anti-aliasing, and believe me, it's gonna look ugly. So please make sure that our textures are the power of 2. For the textures, of course. Metallic roughness and specular. If I want to give texture, they must be grayscale, as we mentioned. Normal map DXT5, no sRGB. It must be a blue map. We're gonna see how it look. HDR maps must be no sRGB within them. No format of sRGB within the HDR. sRGB is for color maps only. So for example, albedo. The main diffuse, for example. Later on, we're going to go and dive deep into this even more practically. But we need to have these rules in mind for us to be able to optimize our scene correctly. Because when it's power of 2, if I, go far away with the scene in Unreal, it's going to, bring it down, like compress it. Supported materials in Unreal, it's like almost all the materials out there, standard 3ds Max material, 3ds Max physical material, V-Ray, Corona, Arnold, Mentor Ray, F-Storm, you name it, all the material engines. V-Ray versus Unreal. So what's the name of this there, right? So diffuse map is base color, reflect map, specular, etch glossiness, arc glossiness, roughness, refract map is opacity, bump is normal, IOR is refraction, opacity is opacity mask, displacement is world displacement, self-illumination is emissive color. So this presentation I will provide you with, guys, so you can come back to any time you want and see all the associated, properties and rules, because we need to understand this. We don't want to learn this by heart. We want to understand this. Okay, and this is basically how the textures look like when I put them inside our editor. Of course, I'm gonna show you guys this practically. So we'll come to our scene, click on the windows and hide. So after we've hidden our windows, we need to know that we need a reference for us to be able to assign the materials, the correct materials that are very close to the real life. So where do I get the reference? I put it in a folder. I will, zip this folder and send it over for you guys, or provide you with the link so you can open the images and, scroll between them easier. So now we will click on the image and we'll bring this here. And we want to start with the basic material. We want to start with color. So let's assume that we're going to talk about the table. I want to see another angle that has clearer colors and clearer view of the table. 100%, this is a perfect angle. So now I want to put them together next to each other and start comparing the material. So I want to decrease the speed of the camera view into Unreal Engine by scrolling, and I want to click on the object that I have here. So guys, before we do anything regarding materials, it's very recommended to do a reference, or otherwise if I'm doing something from my imagination, then it's a different story. So now I want to go to the materials folder. And remember guys, we did a folder for the materials that has all the materials of our scene within it. So if I do a material here, basically my material will blend into the other materials, and it's going to be very difficult for me to find it. I need to search for it every time. So what I'm going to do now is new folder, and from this new folder I'm going to say our underscore materials, double click, and I'm going to do right click material from here. That's how I create a new material. Or from the add, I do a material from here. So I'll do right click and I'll do material, and here it's very important for us to pay attention to the naming convention. So we will start the materials with M. When it's like a pilot material, I'm starting with a new material that I'm going to copy it later on. I do an M as the beginning, as a master material, a shortcut for master material. From it, I will take material instances and material instantiations that have the same properties and has all the same, colors and everything. So we'll do M underscore simple metal. Enter. Simple metal. Double click on it. I'm gonna get a material editor. And this is the material editor, guys. Here's the viewport. Here's where everything I do the work. I've got a menu bar where file, edit, and plugins, assets. If I want to get certain assets, windows. If there is a certain window that I want to add, tools. If there's some functionalities or tools, some tools, debugging tools, for example. If I want to get something from Excel software, for example, that is CSV, that is related to certain coordinates. Help if I've got any questions that I want to ask in the forums or in the documentation. Save, I've got the toolbar here, the save, search, home, hierarchy, clean graph, preview state, hide unrelated stats, how's the statistics of the scene or the material. Is it simple material? Is it costly material? All of these things we can see from here. Platforms, if you want to see a certain platform for mobile or VR or something specific, we can all test it from the platform stats here. So here we can add multiple materials, editors as Google Chrome, like as tabs. It's not necessary for everyone to have its own window. So here I've got the view of the material. If I do left click and I click on the material, I can orbit within the material to view the different sides. Here I can see the screen percentage, the frames per second, the stats, real-time layouts, everything that I need within the viewport perspective. Here if I want to pick a certain other perspective mode. So we can, for example, do top, and I get a wireframe by default, and I can do lit. For example, if I'm doing a top plan visualization, then I can view how the material look from the top. So it's very nice tools, guys, multiple of choices. Here I can see reflections, for example, I see collisions, lighting only, multiple viewports, wireframe, whichever viewport I want to view in, I can view in here. So I want it lit from here. I'll do perspective. As you see, front light left, sorry. So we'll do perspective now. If I want to show the grid or not, if I want to add stats or not, see the stats. If I want to show background or remove background and things like that. Clear sky if I want to have the environment of the material differently. All I can view from here, as you guys can see here, the axes that I have, the gizmo, where is the direction that I have. Here I can change the different models that the material is viewed on. So I've got the cylinder, the sphere. I've also got a plane that I can add. I also have a cube that I can see. And also I can scroll in, scroll out, and scroll in. And I can select a certain unique object to view the material on. So, for example, what we want to do now is click on a certain object, for example. Let's pick something from ceilings. No, let's do an accessory, a decoration. And let's do this, for example, and we're gonna click on it. And now we're gonna enlarge our viewport and look for exactly the model. Where is it located? So the model is there, but we need to zoom into it. And whenever we upload a model, the orbiting and the zooming and everything needs to be, also the panning adjusted. We need to adjust everything for us to be able to see the material correctly on this object. So middle click, I pan the view through middle click. And now I want to scroll into the object. So the main concept is for us to find the suitable way for us to view our object. So let's pan it, scroll. Also more panning, zoom in. So for example, this is the way that I get the object that I want. Here I have my sphere. And I'm interested in the sphere, to be honest, because like there is no specific objects for me, you know, to dedicate a certain object for it so I can view. Any mesh I can add here and see how the material looks on it. Great, so I've got the details and the parameters here. All the details that I need for the materials that is related to the main material nodes. So these are the basic nodes that I will connect everything to so I can get the exact material. Here I've got some materials. I've got the domain. It's like different types of visualization. Every time I change, it shows and hides certain elements on the main simple material editor. The one on where, as you guys can see, the one in the viewport. So everyone changes and varies from the other, differs from the other. I've got opaque, masked, and each one of them is also different and will change the available nodes for me to connect to. So translucency, for example, is one of the things that I'm going to use. Additives, modulate. So many materials types that we will be, covering some of them for ArcViz and beginners. So for example, if I want to do hair, skin, eye, or cloth is of course different than subsurface or cloth or default lit or unlit or even two-sided for foliage. So all of that will be clear in our scene. Default lit here is the one we will use. If we've got two-sided materials, if I've got any advanced options to tweak here, there's so many options. If I want to do material arrays, if I want to nanite override for a certain material, translucency options, self-shadowings, usage, many options. For example, these guys could be functions pre-programmed for us to use. Mobile, the forward shading, the example, how everything looks in the scene, post-process material, refraction, light mass, many parameters. So we will talk about all the things that we'll cover in ArcViz and also for beginners, for them to be able to create any material from scratch and be, very strong when creating materials and confident. So later on, guys, in the next lecture, we will talk about the editor itself and how to add nodes and assign materials to objects. I hope you benefit from this lecture.